Good evening, everyone. Live from Israel. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes and we're going to start a little update about what happened today in the war that Israel is having right now against terrorism. I'm going to be speaking about the ground invasion and why I think personally it's been delayed, but it's going to happen. It has to happen. The ground invasion to Gaza has to happen if Israel is seeking to do what it promised, which is to completely eliminate and annihilate Hamas. But I'm also being realistic because Hamas is not only it's terrorists, but Hamas, it's also the hearts of the people of Gaza. Hamas is an ideology. And for somebody whose background, main educational background is in Islamic terrorism and counter-terrorism, but majority of Islamic terrorism in the Middle East, you have to understand that Hamas is a religious duty and a religious ideology that manifested itself into armed terror groups in order to fulfill their religious goal. So killing Hamas or destroying Hamas or finishing Hamas or removing Hamas, meaning removing every little military capability that they have acquired, destroying all the rockets, destroying all the tunnel networks, and of course, killing all of its armed militants and leaders. And families that want to still worship Hamas in their hearts and want to pray that Israel one day will disappear, as long as it's in their hearts, what can we do? We can't change people's ideology. So what happened today in Israel? First of all, I'm going to share something personal with you. I was on my way with my brother to a medical exam that I needed to do, and I needed a driver. So my brother came with me, and we're driving, and it's dark. And on our way there, my brother is telling me that there are sirens, and his phone is blowing up. And of course, I'm driving. The windows are rolled. I can't hear anything. So and the radio was on too because we wanted to get updated. So I'm driving in the highway, and then I turn the radio down, and then I hear the siren. So we immediately saw people pulling over. And no, that just had back surgery, so I flew out of the car. I don't know even how. And we found that ditch, so we were hiding in a ditch and covering our heads. And it was pretty intense because I peeked up because I'm always looking to see these Iron Dome interceptors, or I just want to see and to just comprehend what's going on. And I saw that interceptor right above my head. It's like a firework being launched to the sky, and it had a trail of smoke behind it, and all of a sudden we heard the interception, and it was just very, very, very loud. I think in that barrage of rockets, it was a direct hit in that area too. So we heard the actual, blast, hitting one of the buildings, residential buildings. By the way, when people talk about war crimes and don't kill civilians, don't bomb civilians, all they do since Hamas existence, 90% of his engagement of killing Israelis and Jews were against innocent civilians. I know because back in the day, I was in a police unit that was fighting that terrorism in the year 2000. And they used to say they invented suicide bombers. I'm telling you, they invented suicide bombers. You can check me anywhere. Hamas was the pioneer of suicide bombing. Is to take somebody who's already has a lot of hate from birth towards Jews and Israelis and brainwash them even more, promise them heaven, paradise, 72 virgins, promise his family honor and riches, and that they're going to be taken care of. Promise him to be above the average Palestinian, but to be a hero and to be closer to God. And on top of that, they drug them and they send them to blow themselves up on innocent people. It was in buses, restaurants, and of course, if you want to look in a bigger scale, what do you think happened in 9/11? One huge suicide mission. Targeting civilians was the number one priority. You know, they found on one of the filthy bodies of one of the terrorists that committed the massacre, they found a note of instructions what to do in Arabic, of course. And it stated that they must kill everybody and do their best they can to behead them. And of course, a terror organization, their main thing is to spread terror and fear and to show that they can psychologically break you. So they had instructions in Arabic in their pockets that it was recovered today. Specific instruction: not only kill all the civilians, but behead them if you can. And we all know that that happened as well. And I can't believe that people, well, I can, you know, when people are so anti-Semitic and so anti-Israel and so pro-Hamas, I can't believe there are people who are pro-Hamas. How can you be? It's like being pro-ISIS. It's like back then walking the streets and saying, yeah, man, I'm pro-ISIS. ISIS are the good guys. They're worse than ISIS. So, and some countries that used to be a beacon for culture and manners and liberalism and freedom and Western civilization, classic Europe, Western Europe, have become a breathing ground for Hamas supporters, for Islamic that is marching towards being in the majority of Europe. By the way, in 20 years from now, Europe is completely Islamic. Not that I have a problem with that on the Islamic level. I don't have a problem with Muslims. So people know I'm not an Islamophobe. I just know Islam, know that if people truly believe in Islam, know what the Quran says. And I know that within Islam, there are people who take in the Quran and actually taking actions, doing what it says, and forming these terrorist groups and think that the world should be Islamic. They truly not think, they believe, and their religious obligation is for the world to believe is Islamic. So either you convert to Islam or you will not be. You will not exist. It's exactly what's going on here. It's a religious war, okay? It's a religious war, and it's going to just spread and spread and spread and spread. It's not even the beginning. The pieces are not even on the board yet completely. That's what we're working on right now. This is why I think, and of course, I have my own sources. I give a lot of information and intel to Israeli feminist journalists. I'm not going to mention names, but they publish a lot of my stuff that I find in Arab networks that I was able to infiltrate to, of course, on a different name years and years and years and years ago. And I'm just one out of 1,000 people, and nobody knows that I'm watching, and then I'm translating, and then I'm taking, and then I'm downloading. And I'm telling you, it's just the beginning. Iran had a four-stage plan that started on October 7th with the massacre of Jews. They had a four-stage plan, and that plan was to use all of its proxies, meaning all the forces that Iran funded, and a lot of it is thanks to Obama, by the way, um, because Obama gave them billions and removed many, many, many of their sanctions and their ways of just spreading their terrorist ideas all over the Middle East. And Biden did the same. And Iran has decided that that time is running out. They're almost or already having nuclear weapons, so their plan can undergo, which is to take over the Middle East and first and foremost to destroy the state of Israel. Okay, so over the years, and a lot of it is Israel's fault for not stopping it when it was just forming. Over the years, Iran built an army in Syria. It has drones, ballistic missiles, precise missiles, rockets, and I don't even know, about 100,000 Shiite militia fighters that are willing to just go and die for Iran. Because Iran usually does not like their military to get dirty. They have proxies that do it for it. So you have that in Syria. And they came there so to help Bashar al-Assad remain in power and help him fight ISIS, but technically their main plan was to establish a presence in Syria and then surround Israel with their militias, with their backers, with their supporters, with missiles, with drones, and do it from the Syrian border of Israel, from the eastern border. And then, of course, in the north, Hezbollah, which was created by Iran in the 1980s, in the late 1980s, right after the Islamic Revolution. That was the main goal, to destroy Israel, and Hezbollah started small, and now it's the biggest terror organization in the world, the most dangerous terror organization in the world, the richest terror organization in the world, and a terror organization that is very, very involved in the U.S. southern border and what's going on there as far as drugs, all the drug stuff that's coming to the United States. It's not just Mexican cartels. There's a way bigger, more powerful cartel than them, and it's Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's what they get their money. That's how they're able to overpass sanctions and laundering money. But that's for a different podcast. So right now we have the Hezbollah with 250,000 rockets and missiles from all sizes and shapes, and drones, thousands of them aimed towards Israel. Some of them are GPS precise guided missiles that are already aimed and pre-programmed to hit very important Israeli infrastructures. And just to remind you, Israel is in the size of New Jersey, very small, very dense. We have the center of Israel, which is Tel Aviv and the surrounding towns. And this is the heart of the culture, the heart of the economy, the economics, like I said, the heart of the military command. Everything is in Tel Aviv and in that area in the center. So once you disable that, then you pretty much disabled Israel. So you have Hezbollah on the north, and they are actually active. Israel is right now fighting in 4 fronts, because today there were rockets fired from Syria. Israel retaliated with artillery, and Israel also bombed an airport in Aleppo, I believe, to try to stop Iran from bringing in more weapons to its militias, because they know that the main battle has begun. The U.S., the reason the U.S. brought its carriers here to the region is because the U.S. intelligence know that the big battle is about to begin, the regional war. And the reason Israel has not started its ground invasion against Gaza and Hamas is because it's waiting to more Patriot batteries to come, more Iron Dome interceptors, and the ships that coming with the U.S. aircraft carriers that are capable of intercepting drones and cruise missiles, just like in the likes we saw. They came from Yemen towards Israel about a week ago, and the U.S. ship was able to intercept most of them, if not all of them, and I think one of them was intercepted by Saudi Arabia, of course, with U.S. batteries of Patriot. So we're waiting for all that stuff to come here, because when the war starts, it's not going to be just Israel, Hamas, Israel, Hezbollah. Even though right now in the first stage, Israel is the one who's fighting all these fronts. In Judea and Samaria, terrorists are also, or some people call it the West Bank, Terrorists are also provoking the IDF, trying to keep it occupied by trying to attack Jews. And there's activities there nonstop that the IDF is stopping terrorists before they go and kill Jews there. You have Hezbollah from the north with anti-tank missiles on our strongholds over there in the north, and on some very important military intelligence infrastructures on the border are being bombed directly with anti-tank Kornet Russian missiles. And so what's going on is that Israel retaliating, and we already killed over about 80 Hezbollah terrorists. So everything is just starting to boil, starting to bubble. Like I said, and when it starts, you'll see the U.S. is already involved in that. There's some U.S. high-ranked field officers that are right now outside of Gaza working with the Israelis, advising the Israelis about the ground invasion. Biden doesn't really know what's going on. I mean, he says one thing, then he says the other. But it's the people behind Biden that also understand that it's a regional war that has to happen now, and before Iran has nuclear weapons that they already tested, and they can threat the world with that. They can threat the United States. Iran has a huge ballistic missile arsenal. They're actually one of the leading countries in having the amount of ballistic missiles, and as far as ranges, types, and all that stuff. They have suicide drones that can go thousands of miles. We saw the damage that these drones do in Ukraine and by the Russians. So, and we also know that if Iran is going to be directly involved in the war, most likely Russia and maybe even China will interfere. And then, the world is going through a spiritual detoxing. So I believe that right now the invasion is being delayed or on hold. You have to train the forces. You have to. There's a lot of targets that the IDF is still bombing from the air, but I think that they're running out of targets because it's the tunnels you have to worry about. And I think that the IDF has done enough damage that the terrorists will be forced to leave the tunnels with the hostages. And tomorrow I want to talk about the hostages because you have to understand there's a lot of Hamas is in problem. It's got problems with the hostages. They didn't, in their wildest of dreams, they did not expect to have that many civilian hostages with them. But then at the same time, the vast majority of these civilians are dual citizens or just foreign citizens. There are over 100, I think there's almost 175 Thai people out of the 220. People from Thailand, workers, they work the fields over there. They're not Israelis, they're not Jewish, they're from Thailand. So Hamas, they're talking about the hostages being released. They're going to release the people that they have no business in holding because it's bad for the already bad, terrible Nazi image. So they don't need that trouble. What's going on right now is they're still trying to launch rockets towards Israel to show that they're relevant, but they're hiding. Once they pick their heads up above the ground, they'll see the destruction that they brought upon Gaza. But like I said, it's just the beginning because the IDF is going to go there. And I think that the world is going to learn a huge lesson about how urban fighting is being taken into the next level. I mean, you're going to see some stuff that you've never seen, the world has never seen, as far as military capabilities. And I'm sure that as far as godly miracles as well, to protect these holy forces. Really, it's a war between good and evil. To me, if you back up Hamas, if you're like one of those who are like, we don't believe it happened, we want to see more pictures, or Israel did AI and all that. I mean, come on, 5 minutes from my house, it's the main morgue where they're still working 24/7 to recognize these people. They've only recognized 900 and something out of 14 or 1,500 murdered. And what about the people who are kidnapped? Are they also AI? They're not real? But what does people talk about? That they hate Israel so much. So when Israel finally has a chance, to reveal to the world, like, look, this is what we're dealing with all these years, and we've been telling you, and you're telling us that we oppress them and I mean, just listen to that conversation I did yesterday. I played yesterday here, doing the live podcast of a terrorist talking to his parents, so happy that he was able to murder Jews, and his parents are even happier than him that he was able to murder Jews. Give me a break. Don't talk to me about civilians. Gaza is Hamas. And I can't believe the world is dealing with Qatar. That Qatar is the financial sponsor of Hamas. They created Hamas financially. They host Hamas leaders in their country. And people talk like Qatar is a mediator, like Qatar is some sort of like angelic being that's supposed to bring peace between the nations. Qatar is Hamas. Qatar is an enemy. And I'm not talking about the U.S. relationships with Qatar, because the U.S. has a lot of military interest in Qatar, including the largest base in the Middle East, pretty much, the largest air base. So forget that. But Israel, no. I mean, we should fight like there are no hostages. If you knew military strategy, like if you decided you're going in and you're destroying this terror organization, like the war on ISIS, you don't negotiate with them. You're done negotiation. It's time for a complete destruction until they surrender and give out or surrender the hostages, so you can spare some lives of their filthy terrorists. They are guarding them, or you will rescue them because you're closing the range and you're there, boots on the ground, finding them, rescuing them. Rescue whoever you can. You're dealing with people that don't value human life. They can end people's life. It's easier for them to do than to blink their eyes. So this is what we're dealing with. So the thing with the hostages is it's a serious situation. I can't believe some countries like Thailand, you're allowing people to protest pro Hamas when 70 some people of your country, like Thai people, are being held hostage or kidnapped by Hamas. Hamas committed war crimes against your people, and you're allowing pro Hamas protests in your land. I mean, the world's going crazy. Anyways, it's not Thailand we're talking about tonight. It's Israel, the US, Iran, Hezbollah, maybe Turkey, Egypt. Everybody's stirring in the pot. Everybody knows that this can it is getting out of hand. It's just a matter of timing. What I'm seeing happening, and I'm not a prophet, but I've been preparing for this moment for the past 15 years. I watched this grow to this point every time, and I can show you solid proofs on my old Facebook account that I recently reactivated just to look at what I said in the past, 1-to-1, what was going to happen. The war with Iran will be the war with its proxies, and it's going to be the US and Israel doing a preemptive strike on all of the Iranian-backed terrorist groups, both in Syria and Lebanon, while the IDF is cleaning Gaza. We're waiting. We're preparing to defend the Israeli front, the home front, the civilians. We are waiting to prepare the U.S. bases in the region, in Syria, in Iraq, even in Qatar, other places too, even in Turkey, because it's going to get messy. And then you'll see who's on the right side of history and who's on the wrong side of history. It's something that, and by the way, speaking of U.S. bases, they're being attacked daily. There are U.S. soldiers that are being injured and being airlifted to Germany, to better hospitals for care. Nobody's going to tell you that in the media, but go check, see if I'm right or wrong. U.S. soldiers were injured, some of them badly, and were airlifted to a military hospital, U.S. military hospital in Germany, because they couldn't get the care they needed in Syria. So Iran is attacking Joe Biden is threatening, and then 2 seconds after, he's forgetting what he said, and then he's talking about the two-state solution. Who's going to believe in the two-state solution? What two-state solution? I mean, that's it. It's going to be determined. We all want peace. We all want peace. But when, like Golda Meir, one of Israel's prime ministers during the Yom Kippur War, once said, there will be peace when the Arabs love their children more than they hate us. Then there will be peace. So this was the update today. A little bit of from the same, but more intense in the northern border. Hezbollah is still keeping it below the level of all-out war, but it's just because everybody's preparing. It's the quiet before the storm, and I hope that the Israeli people are ready, and they're ready mentally to experience something that they've never experienced before. They're almost going to be like the Ukraine or worse. But if we are showing strength and support in our military and our the only ally we really have in the world, which is the United States of America. They've been drilling this with the Israelis for years. They knew this moment would come. Iran planned it. 4 stages. First is Gaza, second Lebanon, third Syria, and fourth is the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, the Arabs here, in order to eliminate Israel. We're trying to stop them in between the first and second stage, and this is coming. This is coming in the next days. In this war, everything is very dynamic. Things change rapidly. The Israeli economy cannot take that waiting time for too long. We are just waiting for more air defense. That's the only thing. Air defense is coming, and we are ready to roll. Thank you so much for listening and watching.